So today I'm going to talk to you about the root perm. And the root perm is done for one of two reasons. A, the client has had a previous perm service and now it's grown out. Or B, the client would like to have support at the base area for their final style. So for those of you who struggle with end papers, you're going to love this perm pattern. And really it follows any type of perm pattern that can be created or customized. Today I'm going to use the basic perm wrap, but again, it can be any perm pattern that the client may have had in the past. So really the whole idea behind the root perm is to just perm either as I mentioned, the root area or a predetermined amount of lift. So you're still following the same principles. We're using the diameter of our tool to determine the base width. But as I mentioned, we are not going to be using end papers. So we'll determine how much volume support we want. So whether that tool position will be on base, half off base, or off base. So I'm going to use half off base, so 90-degree elevation. And typically a root perm for a client who's coming back in, it's not going to be like a color where you only have half an inch. You're going to have a pretty substantial amount of hair because we have to have, again, those revolutions going around. So starting from about a quarter or up to about half of the length down, I'm going to just insert my tool. Now I'm going to try and get this comb out of your way. So where it's going to be different now is I'm going to just take those ends and pull them off to the side. And this is going to be very important. As you roll down your tool, you want to make sure that you're not wrapping those ends in. So you just want to keep them off to the side so they sort of stand in one standard position, if you will, in the same spot, and you roll down. The ends, I would encourage you, it doesn't really matter, I guess, whether it's back behind, but it's easier if they're underneath the elastic. And then they would just be secured out of the way. In order to protect them during the perm service as part of the pre-perm, after we get the hair all wrapped, we would put some sort of barrier cream or protective moisturizer. So if perm solution did happen to get onto the ends, it wouldn't affect them. So then I just leave them out of my way. Again, alternating color. So you would be looking at the client's card, making any changes if needed. If they desire the same wrap that they had before and the same outcome, you already know because of the tool. So again, I'll pull that out of your way. I'm going to just take those ends and just put them off the side. It's important that when you bring them off to the side, that the hair on the rod is still nice and smooth and it's not bunched. And then we bring it around, but I'm not bringing any more ends. So whatever ends are there, this is not getting shorter. It's just following around the perm tool. Have the ends lie towards you so that they're going to be underneath that elastic and not get affected by the perm solution. And then that would go up and out of our way. As you get into perm wraps for longer hair, we use a similar method to this, but we would use, the ends would be wrapped on a perm rod. That's to create curl, of course, from base to ends on long hair. But this is a good practice method and introduction to get into those more advanced wrapping methods. So again, I'm just going to move my comb out of my way. Go a few inches away from the base, insert the rod in, bring that hair off to the side, making sure that that hair is nice and flat and smooth around the rod, and then begin to roll. Again, the hair that's left out of the perm rod is not getting any shorter, so it's not wrapping around as well, and then we're secure. I'm going to continue on this wrap so that you can see the finished product, but I'll pause for now and I'll join you back again when I'm almost done. So I'm just here at the final section, and remember, whenever you're doing the 9-section wrap, you should always end with the sections on the face. So moving forward through it, there are two things that I wanted to point out to you too. You can either start from the top of the section and then work your way down. You will find, especially on the sides, you'll have to sort of clip the tails up out of your way, or you could work from the bottom of your section up and then the tails just fall down. But then of course you have to clip up the rest of the hair out of your way. So whatever you find is most comfortable. Another consideration that I want to point out to you is if you do a great job at your pre-sectioning subsectioning your middle panel, it will actually be your guide. So you won't always have to go back in and measure, with the exception of where you have the front part here. It's a little bit wider because of the curve of the head, that triangle. So you almost have to add an extra rod, but you'll see what I mean by this in a few seconds. That really all the rods, so the white will all line up with the white, the violet or purple or mauve, whatever color we're calling it today, will all line up together. And that makes the wrapping process a little bit faster because now you have a guide to measure to. And it helps to be consistent throughout your perm design. So just to reiterate, whenever I'm wrapping with those ends, I'm not bringing any more of those ends into the rod. I'm also, as I'm wrapping, I'm trying not to make sure that the ends get twisted. They want to twist because you're sort of holding them still. I ran out of white rods, so you'll have to forgive me as I use this gray. So you want to make sure that as you're doing that final securing, that those ends aren't twisted, and they're trying to stay as flat as they can on that base. So see if I can point this out to you a little bit better. So as I go around, those ends, see how they want to twist? I want to, before I actually secure it out, I want to make sure that they're sitting flat, so that when the perm solution goes on, that they're not being encouraged to do a different motion than they normally would. Here I would normally use a short rod, but I don't think I have one, and it's okay. So there you have it. This is a root perm. So again, all these ends would be protected from the perm solution with a barrier cream. As you get into the longer perm wraps, you'll see we use these ends when we roll them in opposite directions, known as the piggyback wrap. So moving around, all my sections, all my ends are left out, and that concludes the root perm wrap.